Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about momentum. Let's talk about momentum as far as it has to do with carrying on what you have going on already, which is using momentum in your favor and using momentum to benefit one. So let's talk about how one can benefit from being carrying on momentum when it comes to mentally. Mentally, you can have mental momentum by continuously carrying on your strong mentality, carrying on the strong thought process that you have, carrying on the strong mental forms that you have from one experience to the next, and from that experience to the next experience, and from that next experience to the next experience. And when it comes to not allowing yourself to, let's say, lose that momentum mentally, and to carry on that momentum throughout each experience, one should be mentally strong, one should be mentally perseverant, one should be mentally protected, and one should be mentally stable to consistently use that momentum in one's favor. And being in a space or an energy of using momentum to your favor when it comes to mentally, be anything like, okay, let's say you need to perform a certain task or you need to do a certain thing when it comes to mentally. Using the experience that you have with, okay, thinking like this way, getting into that energy of thinking that certain way, using those certain thought forms are going to carry on that momentum energy and allow you to be in a space or state or energy of momentum when it comes to mentally. Like I said, if you have to, let's say, perform a certain thing mentally, you need to use your mental state of being for a certain task. You need to do whatever you need to do, and while being in a mentally stable state of mind when it comes to that, and you need to constantly carry that on from one experience to the next. So you need to practice momentum just by tapping in and being immersed in that energy of using your mind state in that specific way, using your mentalities in that specific way, structuring your mental forms in a way that are going to benefit you in those experiences and in those situations that you need it for, is going to help you to carry on with momentum when it comes to using the mental state of being and carrying out the either strength of the mental state of being, the power of the mental state of being, the application of the mental state of being in a energetic way of momentum. When it comes to physically, you can use your momentum physically, like consistently going to the gym, consistently eating the right foods, consistently doing the right actions that are helping your body to be more healthier rather than tearing it down or making it and putting you in a physical state of being of not being healthy or putting you at risk of certain health issues, you may say. So constantly having that momentum to benefit your physical state of being when it comes to doing the right things for your physical state of being, putting yourself in the right space when it comes to your physical state of being, and carrying on that from experience to experience, carrying over that momentum, and therefore any action that you do physically that is beneficial, be in a momentum energy when it comes to physically that is going to benefit you. If you're doing things that are not right for your physical state of being and that are possibly degrading your physical state of being, then being in a momentum frequency or flow as concerned with those negative actions towards self is not going to be beneficial towards one in one's state of well-being. So being in a constantly doing actions that are correct for the physical state of being and carrying those on from experience to experience is how you can build momentum when it comes to physically, when it comes to emotionally. Having the trust in your emotional state of being, having the trust in your emotional state of being to constantly be stable, or to constantly be able to react or be in a emotional state of being that is correct for you, and that one is that helpful for you, whatever that may be, whatever you need to use that momentum towards, making sure that you have emotional momentum to where you're constantly building up this momentum from each experience to the next, even if that was a tough emotional experience or a tough time when it comes to emotionally, or it was a good strong building time when it comes to emotionally. Learning from that, let's say if it was a tough time emotionally, and then carrying that thing that you learned, the lesson that you learned, in order to move that momentum towards the next experience. And if it was a positive building emotional experience, helping the momentum build positively, then you can use that to stack on to the next circumstance or the next situation that you find yourself in when it comes to carrying over that energy, when it comes to having momentum, when it comes to emotionally. This may be a very simple explanation and a very maybe not as deep video as some of my others when it comes to breaking down certain energies that you could be in and what it means to be in that energy when it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But I'm just going off the top of my head, and I'm normally going off the top of my head. But in this case, I do have other things that I do want to talk about on my channel. But I decided that today, while I do have some time, I'm not gonna not do anything. I'm gonna be consistent, like I said in my last video, and I'm gonna just talk about momentum. And it doesn't have to be a 30-minute video like my last one. It doesn't have to be 30 plus minutes or whatever. I can do whatever I want to do, and to know that I am constantly doing that and putting out a message that is beneficial towards people to help at least learn something, then that's something that I'm going to do while I have the time to. When it comes to spiritually having momentum, spiritually carry over that momentum from each experience to the next by having faith in yourself. I talked about that in the last video, by having belief in your ability to be spiritually strong, your ability to be spiritually protected through any circumstance that you go through. Let's talk about, if you're spiritually traveling in any certain frequency, any type of vibration, any place, any location, whatever that may be, having that perspective of momentum is going to be like, okay, I'm spiritually strong in this experience, and I'm going to carry this strength that I have spiritually from this experience and use it as momentum to carry myself into the next experience, while carrying on that momentum, carrying on that spiritual strength that you have in order to be in a state of momentum when it comes to spiritually. And those are just some ways that you can use momentum in order to benefit oneself, in order to benefit your travels when it comes to mentally, physically, emotionally, and physically, and also spiritually, and also your experiences as far as it comes to mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and as well your state of well-being when it comes to mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Support the channel. On the way to 6,000 views, even though views don't matter, all that it shows is that what I am doing is constantly being put out there, and some are aware of what I'm doing, and I'm being able to have an effect on, even if it's just a certain amount. The amount doesn't matter really whatsoever, but what does matter is at the end of the day, I am putting in that work when it comes to mentally, I'm putting in that work when it comes to physically, emotionally, and spiritually, and I'm going to continue to do so. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out.